everybody, this is the 21st of May 2023, and this is not a naughty thoughty, this is a Yorkie talkie. Because I've seen a few YouTubers talking about their own accents and local dialects and describing what they hear around them every day, and I haven't yet seen a Yorkshire one. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying I haven't seen one yet. So I thought I'd better do one myself. You know, I think accents are very interesting things. You know, they're and a bigger deal than they're often portrayed as politically as well. As with any marker of your social status and where you are from. You know, it does give people opinions of you and affects your self-image and employability and such like. So it's you know, accents are definitely worth studying, I think, and worth talking about. So yes, this is I'm going to go through some local dialect words. Some are very common, some less so. We'll start with the ones that I hear in pretty much every sentence, and work our way through to the lesser used ones. Yes, we'll start with this is an interesting one. This is very strange because it's gradually eroding, and I don't mean going out of use. I don't mean everybody in the north of England says the now. I mean it's getting smaller and smaller. The sound is becoming less pronounced, let's say. My great auntie, who was born in 1922, she used to say th. I'm going to shops on th bus. I've never heard anyone else say that except for Southerners trying to put on Yorkshire accents. Make of that what you will. I mean, people who are sort of middle-aged, elderly now tend to make a very sharp, definite t sound. I'm going to shops on t bus. Yeah. People kind of my age, younger, will go more of a glottal stop than anything really. I'm going to shops on bus. Maybe a bit of an aspiration there. Going to shops on bus. I don't know if maybe, you know, us people in the north might eventually stop using a definite article altogether. Will it just disappear from our sentence structure? I don't know. Will my children say anything at all in place of the in formal English? I don't know. Yeah, also, I was going to say, while I'm on the subject of t, there is a tendency with fluid speech in the sort of Yorkshire, Lancashire, maybe North Midlands area, to drop the ends off words. So with becomes wi, and give becomes gi. Now, when we're sort of putting it all in a sentence, you know, we wouldn't say give me that, you say give me that. You know? Yes. Anyway, I don't know why that is. I don't know. It's a strange. Just sort of chopping short words in half. It's quite a common thing. I don't really understand it. Yes, moving on. Hey up. It's a friendly greeting. And again, you just hear it every day. You know, you go outside, you say to your neighbours, hey up. Come home, you say to your family, hey up. You go to work, you say hey up to your colleagues. You know, you go in a shop, the shopkeeper says, "Hey up." It's the only time you wouldn't say "hey up" is in a very formal situation. I think it is very, very common. Again, it's really an everyday word. I think I don't know where it comes from. No idea where it comes from. What's the etymology of "hey up"? Anybody got any ideas? I'd be really interested to know. And the spelling of it's not a word that you write down. It's a word you say. So whenever anyone tries to put it into letters, it gets spelled differently. I mean that's how I imagine it would be written down. I've seen it done with A's and apostrophes and hyphens and all sorts of things. But yes, hey up, hey up, hey up, everybody, hey up. It's yeah, that's just what you say when you see somebody. It's just there. It's very, very common. It's as common as outsiders are led to believe. Everybody in Yorkshire says "hey up" to everybody else. This is an interesting one, I think. Wah. It goes back to what I was saying earlier about dropping the ends off words. And wah means both was and were, which we just use interchangeably. But then, of course, in formal English and sort of standard elsewhere English, was and were do get mixed up anyway. I mean, I find it very, very hard to know when you're really supposed to use was and were. Is it I was, I were, you was, you were? Depending on the vocabulary you're using at the time, they can they can just merge into each other in to a large extent. But yes, we tend to just say "wah," so that solves the problem. I wa on my way out. What are you saying? Yeah, it's just "wah." I wa busy. This is problem solved. Just say "wah." Yeah. This is an interesting one. Oat, note, and summit. Now, it means anything, nothing, and something. But then we don't have a short form of everything. Now, oat and note presumably come from the archaic ought and naught, but what does summit come from? Mystery. My nan used to have a nice little phrase that she used whenever she went to a show or some sort of event that was a bit disappointing. She'd say, "It's neither note nor summit." And I need to start using that phrase. I think it's very useful little description. I think neither note nor summit. It just sums up perfectly, doesn't it? What how you feel when you've been to something that was not quite up to your expectations. Yeah, oh no, summit. Yeah, they're just common everyday words as well. Just in everyday use, regular circulation. We use those all the time. Yorkshire and Lancashire, I think, as well. I think they use those in Lancashire. I don't know about the Midlands. I don't know if they use them in the Midlands. I don't know how far up it goes, down how far up into the northeast. They use those phrases. But yes, they're very common here. Right. Now, we do use the word right in all the same ways that everybody else does. But we have a particular use of it in Yorkshire. I'm not sure how far away it goes, but yeah, certainly round about where I live, in South Yorkshire, we use right as an intensifier. It can just be a straight swap for very, like, oh, it's right cold outside, or we had a right nice dinner, But it's also got this use that's a lot harder to define. You might say, oh, there's a right traffic jam on the way. It just means it was a very big traffic jam. It was a terrible traffic jam. Or you could say, oh, we had a right laugh at that party. It just means we had a fantastic laugh. It was really good. I suppose you could say it's kind of remarkable or memorable or notable in some way. Oh, he told me some right stories, I don't know. How would you describe it right? And some places they use proper in the same sort of way. Oh, we had a proper good time, yeah, right. Again, it's just a word you hear every day. It really is just a common part of every Yorkshire person's vocabulary. Right. Oh, this is Rolly, by the way. He's my new kitten. I'm a 3-cat person now. Yeah, he's actually named after the YouTuber Rolly. My son is very, very into watching Rolly at the moment, so named the cat. Named the cat after him. I want to call him Dougal, because he's black with a little white collar, like an adorable little baby priest. And I quite like the idea of having Dougal and Zebedee by sheer coincidence. But no, he had to be Rolly. Kids always get to pick the cat names, don't they? That's the rules. If it's a pet name, the child chooses. Okay. Next. Here's another very difficult one to define. Love. It's a term of endearment for a child. It's someone you can call someone if you don't know their name. It's just a sort of alternative to calling someone mate, But the rules on who calls who love vary widely from locality to locality. And if you're not absolutely sure what the rules are, where in the particular place you're in now, probably best avoid it. Some places everybody calls everybody love with gay abandon. Sometimes it's only used for children. Sometimes men can use it for women and women can use it for men, but you don't use it for someone of your own gender. Sometimes you use it for someone who's a lot older or a lot younger, but not for someone your same age. It's complicated. Love, very complicated thing, very complicated word. Use with caution. Next one, Mardy. Now, it actually really surprised me very recently when I learned this is a local dialect word that Southerners don't understand. Because it's just such, a normal part of my vocabulary. It is a word that I use all the time, Mardy. It just means someone who's being grumpy. You can be in a Mardy mood. It's a sort of transient state of Mardiness. Or you can be a Mardy person. It can be a personality trait, Or you can refer to someone as a Mardy bum if they are regularly Mardy. Or if you're feeling a bit vulgar, a Mardy arse. Mardy, yeah, it's just a go-to word for me. I'm very surprised that this is not more widely used. Mardy bum. Mardy moo. Yes. It's interesting as well, and I was talking to someone from Lancashire who would say that you would not call someone Mardy where she lives, but you would call them a Mard. interesting. I thought. You may disagree, but, you know, interest is in the eye of the beholder and all that. Anyway, snap. Yes, again, we use this in all the usual ways, but it also means your lunch. It comes from mining, the mining industry. The miners would have these little metal boxes to keep their packed lunch in the shape of a loaf of bread, you know, curved at the top and square at the bottom, sort of arch shape. Yeah, they were metal so that they wouldn't be crushed as they were, you know, busy doing their heavy manual labour in the mines. And then when it was time for a break, they'd snap them open. Now you'd open the little catch on your metal tin and it would make a snapping sound. So they say, right, it's snap time. And that is why, to this day, the people of the Yorkshire coalfields still call their lunch or their snack snap. And yes, the closeness in sound to snack does cause confusion sometimes. I have heard people saying, oh, we're going to have some snack, when they actually mean snacks or snap. But yes, snap. That's a common word down our way. Oh, here's a difficult one. Here's a really difficult one to define. Now then, what this means is someone is trying to communicate with you telepathically. Now then, what does now then mean? I don't know what now then means. I mean, maybe if you just try and take the words themselves, it's absolute nonsense. Now, yes, this present moment. Then, you know, some time ago. I mean, what the hell are you talking about now? Then, it's interesting as well. The usage seems to increase with a person's age, and especially so with men. You know, and old men can go through their day saying pretty much nothing but now then, whereas for children it is very rarely used. I mean, I'm in my 30s now, and I've started noticing this creep into my speech occasionally. And again, I don't know what I mean when I'm saying it. If you're going to try and translate it, it can mean many, many different things. I've heard it used to mean, hello, how are you? Stop it, you're pushing your luck. I've had enough, be quiet. It can mean, I don't know what to say, so I'll just make a noise. How about now then? That'll do. It can mean, it can mean pretty much anything. Now then. It can mean, all right, let's change the subject. It can mean, that's interesting. The 100 definitions of now then, I don't know. This is mind blowing. This phrase is it's worth a scientific research paper in itself, I think. Now then, well, I don't know. I'm at a loss as to how to define this. What even is it? It's not even a phrase, really, is it? It's not. It's just now then. It's just now then. Moving on. I'm just going to move on. Mither. Mither. If you say someone is mithering, it just means they're sort of whining and whinging. I don't know what sort of image I'm conjuring up of Yorkshire actually with this and Mardy and you know, it just sounds like a place where everybody whinges and then whinges about how everybody else is whinging, doesn't it? It can also just mean sort of giving me trouble, like oh my knee's mithering me, you know, oh my knee's playing up today, you know, it's just making me feel like doing some mithering about it, you know. or it could mean nagging. You know, oh, the kids are mithering me for this new toy. Yeah, it's a funny word, isn't it? Mither. It's just sort of negative attention, I suppose. Mither. Another negative attention seeking sort of noise. I don't know. I'm not absolutely certain how you'd define that in one word, but yes, there are many definitions of mither. Anyway, oh, here's a nice one. I like this one. Fettle. Yeah, it means give something a really good clean fix, make it good as new. I wouldn't say it's in regular use, but I use it. And again, my nan used to say it all the time. You know, every time she'd put him in my bath, you know, she'd say, "Oh, I'll get you fettled," you know. And I do the same thing actually when I'm putting my son in the bath and washing his hair and cutting his nails and everything. So, right, I'm going to get you fettled. But yeah, it's. I don't know. It's going out of use, or it was never particularly common. But yeah, I use this word. Apparently, in the mills, there was a kind of mechanic who'd sort of be on hand, you know, on call to go and fix a machine every time it broke down, who was known as a fettler. I don't know if that's maybe where this word comes from, or if it's from the same root, or what that root may be. Yes, it's a nice word. I like it. I like fettle. Tret. Now this is a funny one. It's just the past tense of treat. You know, oh, my boyfriend tret me to dinner. Yeah. Oh, that dog hasn't been tret well. You know. This one is interesting, particularly because I mean, there's a lot of words, as well as sort of chopping the end off words. What we quite often do when sort of speaking quickly is make long vowels into short ones. I don't know if this is unique to Yorkshire accents, but I haven't really noticed it in any others. Like, you know, over becomes over. Gave becomes gev. Seen becomes sin, etc. But this is the only example I can think of a regular verb becoming an irregular verb. We don't say tretted, we say tret. Again, if you've got any ideas as to why, I'd be really interested to hear it. And again, this is another one that's kind of on its way out. Thee and thou. It just means thee and thou. You, in an archaic sort of way. I mean, it's very localised. There are still places you can go and hear people calling each other thee and thou. Not so much where I live. I sort of remember when I was a child, you'd occasionally hear old people saying thee and thou to each other, but it's vanishing round here. And apparently in Barnsley, they're still pretty big on the these and thous. Maybe some sort of rural areas, you know, hear a bit of thee and thou in, but it's out. It's out of fashion. Yeah, it's kind of a bit sad, really. I think that nobody says these sort of archaic words anymore. Sort of going extinct, being bulldozed by the sort of more glamorous phrasings from the media and such. I don't know why do these words go out of fashion? Why do they go out of use? I don't know. No, I never call anybody the or that. Never have done. No, it's very rare now. Very localised. Okay, last one. This isn't actually a word. This is just a letter. This is O. And I just find this letter in itself, the pronunciation, the phoneme O, interesting because in the north of England, you know, across the north of England, really, and so right up into. I'm not sure if it goes into Scotland particularly. You know, we really go for our us, and it's rare. I wouldn't say it's completely unused, but it's very rare across Indo-European languages. Really, I mean, I'm don't really know much about language beyond that. To be honest, I haven't really gone into detailed study of phonemes of the world. But yes, most other countries they tend to make it more of an or an ooh sound. But yeah, we go oh, we go oh. And the only other place I'm aware of where they use oh in such a way, and I'm not sure it's exactly the same, but it's certainly very, very similar, is Ireland. Now again, I'm not an absolute expert on Irish accents, but it certainly seems quite common over there, if not absolutely ubiquitous. But why would north of England and Ireland share this one particular phoneme? Because I mean the English people who colonised Ireland and forced them all to speak English were, you know, the upper classes who'd have gone, you know, not guilty. So you think if they'd have picked it up from, you know, their sort of English conquerors, they'd have gone as well. And, you know, the Irish people who came to England sort of congregated in cities mainly. You know, sort of London, Liverpool, Glasgow, and there wasn't a huge sort of Irish influx into the general north of England that excluded other areas. Well, apart from, you know, an ancestor of mine, of course, who sort of, I don't know why. Maybe she got lost on the way to shop somehow and ended up in Pontefract, married to a Yorkshireman. I don't know. Had 3 little lovely Yorkshire Irish children. I think that's a fantastic combination myself. Pronounced you perfectly. But yeah, what's that about? What is the North of England Irish connection with oh? Or is it just pure coincidence? Is it convergent evolution of language? I'm lost. Ideas in comments, please. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next one.